Hey guys, it's Danny. Today we are playing with some Phalaenopsis orchids and I'm gonna attempt to make a sort of a crisis moment. I'm gonna transform it into an experiment. Here's the deal. Let me tell you what the problem is. The problem is sphagnum moss is not so available anymore and it's very expensive if it's available. Last time I bought sphagnum moss, I paid almost 20 euros for the tiny brick, the condensed one. The big pack. I don't even want to know how much that one costs. Not that I can find it. I can only buy from Orchids Deluxe for now the tiny little bricks, which it's not that much. It's 100 grams of moss. 20 euros almost. Plus shipping. I have to conserve my sphagnum moss, and you know what? I love sphagnum moss, but if I can't buy it, I can't use it. And actually, the problem in my collection is not necessarily the cattleyas or the dendrobiums or the oncidiums. No, my problem is the Phalaenopsis, because not only do I have a lot of them because I like them, but also they're big. These are tiny. These are the tiny ones. This one I just purchased, but most of the others, they're a little older, they're quite big, and these are the new pots that I just acquired for them. How beautiful. They're big pots. Can you imagine how much sphagnum moss I need to use in these pots? Yes, it's gonna last me 3-4 years maybe, but I don't have that much sphagnum moss, and I don't have that much money to buy the sphagnum moss. And quite honestly, maybe there's a very good reason why it's so scarce nowadays. Maybe it's not, I think it's not very sustainable. Depends the brand you're purchasing it from, I guess. But yeah, we have a problem with sphagnum moss overall. So I have a whole lot of Phalaenopsis that I wanted to put in these beautiful pots, and I promised you a video on them. But then I was faced with the cruel reality. I have no means to repot them. So I didn't repot them. I'm just having the pots. Some of them are behind me, like right here. They're just sitting around waiting for the orchids to be repotted, but I can't repot them. It's okay though. What are we gonna do? Go and cry in the corner about it? No, we're gonna manage. So today we're managing, because I have an idea. So I have a few orchids that I already potted in these pots. They're in a combination of bark and sphagnum moss, mostly bark, but I'm still consuming the moss, so that's not good. I have bark around me, but I cannot only use bark because it doesn't retain water. So I thought, okay, what else? What other material I can find locally and it's very affordable and, you know, it's sustainable as well? What other material, except leca? You know, what other material? Well, I have some Ceramis left. Do I have enough to put all of my Phalaenopsis in Ceramis? No. Do I want to put them in Ceramis? No. Do I want to go back to leca? No. Does the leca go in these? These are self-watering, by the way. Do they go in these self-watering pots? No. I have issues with the leca wicking. See, they're self-watering. So these are pretty economical pots when it comes to water, not so economical when it comes to medium. What can I use? What can I use? And it hit me. And mind you, this is not an original idea. I mean, people are doing it, but not me. I have found that I have perlite in abundance in my country, like in abundance, and it's so affordable, and it's expanded rock pretty much. It's lightweight. It wicks water, which is what I need. It retains water, again, which is what I need. They say it's neutral, pH-wise. We'll see about that. Theoretically, it should be neutral, which leca is not. That's why I don't want to use it. The only drawback is it attracts algae, but, you know, I can put a top layer. Are people using it? Sure, they use it a lot to propagate philodendrons and stuff of the sorts. Could it work with orchids? Maybe, no. Maybe not with all of them, but with Phalaenopsis, could it work? I think you could. Like Phalaenopsis grow on the table. You mount it to the table, you water it correctly, and it's gonna grow on your desk or on the table. That's how Phalaenopsis work. So why wouldn't they grow in perlite? Will they perform their best? I don't know. That was the good thing with sphagnum moss. It allowed nutrient absorption to be very good because it was slightly acidic, it was fluffy, it retained a lot of water, it was wicking, it was perfect. But it's expensive. So will the perlite act the same for Phalaenopsis? I don't know. But I'm gonna try because I have no choice. So before you go ahead and type me a comment, oh, you're changing your setup again. I can't afford it. I can't. Do you have money to give me to buy sphagnum moss? I'll accept it. I would love to afford sphagnum moss. But maybe I shouldn't. Maybe it's not that sustainable, you know? Maybe maybe I should be creative. Maybe I should embrace the fact that I cannot afford the sphagnum moss, right? So this is me embracing it. So please don't comment, oh, you're changing a setup again. One, if I want to change it, that's okay. But two, I'm forced to. I don't want to change it, but I have to. Right, so, sorry, I have trauma with these comments. Change the setup again, what am I supposed to do? I don't know, like, you can keep your setup. All right, so what we're gonna do today, by the way, I'm overreacting a little bit for the sake of being funny. I mean, I love sphagnum moss. I would love it to be abundant and sustainable and cheap and stuff, but it's not. What to do? We're gonna have to manage, right? So let's try Perlite out. Let's see how it goes. We're gonna embark on a new experiment. Woohoo! I wasn't in the mood for experiments, but we're gonna do an experiment. So I'm gonna repot this new Phalaenopsis orchid that I found at a flower shop. Very weird, because in summertime in Cyprus, you don't find a lot of orchids in flower shops. It's so hot that, you know, they just don't travel well, they don't preserve well. So it's usually in the cooler months that I find interesting stuff. But I found this Phalaenopsis, which looks very interesting. I'm hoping it's gonna stay small. And actually it has 2 keikis. So it was a good deal. So I purchased this Phalaenopsis. It's not fragrant. No, it's not, but it looks beautiful. I really, really like it. And we're gonna pot it in some perlite today. I have a few that I already potted just for the sake of an experiment. Oh, it's dry. I think it's dry. I need to put some mosquito screens on the bottom because perlite just falls out of the pot. Anyway, so I do have 2 orchids in perlite so far, but you know, I potted them 2 weeks ago. I didn't have time to properly tell if they do well. So let's just film repotting one of these orchids in perlite, and then we're gonna do updates and see how it does overall. And with the other Phalaenopsis, what I decided to do is to keep them in the old medium. It's 3 years old already, but you know, they're gonna have to do with what they have. The medium should last. I mean, until next spring, it should be okay. I should get away with another year or half a year from that medium. So I'm not very concerned. But yeah, most of them I'm gonna leave for next year to repot. I'm gonna hang on to these beautiful pots and do some experiments with perlite, see how it's gonna do. Maybe I will repot one at least in this big pot as well in perlite, because perlite is very wicking, so the self-watering should actually work. I also tested it, it is very wicking. The best thing to do is to postpone repotting for the other ones. Right, enough blabbing. Let's get the tray, let's get the gloves, let's get the perlite. Alrighty, so first off, let's unpot this orchid really quickly. I'm not gonna stay too much on this. It's not a repotting tutorial. If you are here for a repotting tutorial, I'll link you one down below. It's actually a good video on how to set yourself up for success with Phalaenopsis. And by the way, breaking a few roots doesn't matter because this orchid has a lot of roots. So if you're interested in a tutorial, check that video out. This will not focus on potting and things of the sort. So I'm just gonna remove medium. We have a plug here, cocoa peat. Cocoa peat could be a solution as well. I personally don't like it though. It's very fine, it's too fine. I would prefer actually perlite. Maybe a combination of perlite and cocoa peat, I don't even know. I really like the fact that cocoa peat is slightly acidic, or I think it is. Perlite is supposed to be neutral, which, you know what, for Phalaenopsis it's fine. But yeah, that's the only concern. Right, let's cut away everything that's dead, which it's not too much, but there are a few roots which are dead here. Do this really fast. I'm not gonna sit too long on this topic. So I'm gonna go rinse a little bit the root system at the sink. Nothing extraordinary there, just run water through the roots to remove most of this cocoa peat that we have left, and I'll come back with the pot and the perlite. All right, here we are. Here we have the perlite. Looks a little like ice cream. Yeah, okay. Perlite is very dusty. It's not a good idea to inhale that dust. It's really not. So what I do is I wet it like this. It's gonna be a little trickier to work with, but it beats having some lung issues, okay? There is no need to rinse it at this point because it's gonna get rinsed in the pot. So just gonna put it as it is in the pot. It would make for such a good ASMR video. Too bad my neighborhood is not silent, so I cannot make ASMR videos. But it would make for some really nice ASMR. Okay. So I'm gonna put a layer on the bottom and then I will put my orchid inside and just add perlite with this little spoon that I have here. Not the most ideal thing, but it's okay, it works out. Rather than inhaling that dust. One thing you should know about perlite is that if you press too much on it, it will completely turn to dust. I don't even know if you're in frame. Let me get you in frame because I'm gonna get complaints. All right, so one thing you should know about perlite is that if you press too much on it, it's gonna become dust. So one thing we don't wanna do is press too much on it, which it's kind of hard because it's wet, but I have my secret weapon, which is the Bambi skewer. So I'm gonna make sure that all of these beads are falling inside the pot as much as possible. So I don't want to work with perlite dry because no matter how much you rinse it, when it's dry, it will still create dust because it is so brittle. What am I doing here? Can't even see. So it will always be a little dusty and I just don't want that stuff in my lungs. So it's a little more inconvenient to work with it wet, but it's not impossible. I might get a little bit more, maybe a little more. All right, so I got a bit more perlite and let's continue. I need to make or keep some space on the top for bark because one thing that perlite does here in my environment, and I know this because I did use perlite in combination with other stuff. So perlite attracts a lot of algae, and actually I'm thinking it's cyanobacteria, which is not good for the roots. So that's why I also did not use a transparent pot, which yes, would have given us a good look at the roots, but at the same time, it would have promoted cyanobacteria and we would have had probably some bad results with the roots, which we would attribute to the perlite, but in fact, it would be the byproducts of cyanobacteria. So to eliminate these intruders, let's say, in our experiment, we are going to top the top. We're gonna top the pot with some bark. Anything can be used, anything that can shade the perlite can be used. Actually, you know what, before I top it off, just to make sure that it's gonna fall in place, I'm gonna go run some water at the sink. Again, nothing spectacular, just running water at the sink, making sure all of the pieces of the perlite are down in the pot, not on the roots. I don't want anything above this bark. So hold on, I'm gonna go rinse it or run water through the pot at the sink. Alrighty, this looks a little better. So let's put some bark on top. Wow, this pot is pretty lightweight, which means it's not actually retaining a whole lot of water. It is retaining some, better than if it were just bark, but nowhere near as much water as sphagnum moss. I can tell you for sure, but it's okay. The good thing with perlite as well is that if you leave water in a reservoir, the perlite will wick it up. It's going to act like soil or like sphagnum moss. It's just not capable of retaining as much water in its structures as sphagnum moss. So maybe we can mitigate this aspect of it with just leaving more water at the bottom. Everything is wet and sticky. It's okay, it's okay. Flowers on the field, the universe is expanding. Alrighty, we're done with this. So I'll clean up my table, come back with final thoughts. Alrighty then, so the orchid is potted. It is so lightweight, but maybe that's a good thing. Actually, for the glass shelves, it is a good thing. So I will keep you up to date with all of these things. I mean, we're gonna have an update when, I don't know, I need to see how they grow in time, how much I have to work to keep them hydrated, how they perform, how they bloom. Gotta make pH tests, all of that fun stuff. So I don't know, it's gonna take a while for an update, but we'll see how things go. And we'll see if this type of growing is suited for my environment. I would love it to use it like only with Phalaenopsis because they tend to be so big and require so many resources, and also because they can tolerate it. And bottom line, what I want is for me to have an easier life with them and also for them to have good conditions to bloom properly, because Phalaenopsis can put on such a wonderful show. So I hope they will still do that. If perlite is the trick, then perlite is the trick. It is what it is. Again, I would love to find sphagnum moss abundantly and to be this very easy to obtain resource and so on, because it's absolutely wonderful. But it might not be the case. We might eventually all have to move away from sphagnum moss. I hope not, but maybe we will have to. Who knows? Who knows? So in case that happens, I gotta manage. I gotta find something quick. So perlite is my first idea, because ceramis and leca, no, I tried. No. That has been it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see how this goes. Let me know what your experience is with perlite if you're using strictly perlite for orchids. So leave me a comment. I would love to read it. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.